I stay like this, but is it possible to stay here until my death? I tell Andrea, if I'm still here in 40 years, kindly shoot me. People at personal interview instantly sent away. But why on railway? He responds, because salary is good. Yes, go away, clearly, gentlemen. In the meantime, though, they come other dramas that my wife will never give me permission to disclose, genuine family dramas that weigh us down greatly, and in the midst of all this we begin to experience a phase that I describe as the lowest point from which I could either sever my veins or simply emerge. I choose one. Welcome ladies, hello everyone, welcome to this new video by Yuri Tufano, the Wolf of Amazon. In this video, my gentlemen, we will talk a little about what is my story. Since many have asked me, Yuri, tell your story please, why don't you tell it to us? Why don't you talk about your claim to success? What have you done to live in Dubai with your whole family? So not the boy who hangs out at the rental of supercars, just enough time to take pictures. So we are here permanently with the family, with 2 children, a girl who goes to grade 9, equivalent to, I think, 2nd grade. Okay, we are finally here in Dubai with our whole family, and we are settled here for good, and we are really enjoying our new life in this amazing city. Tell the story, the true story of the wolf. Let's start with some necessary promises. Then I come from Cinisello Balsamo in the province of Milan, so Milanese interland, north of Milan, a boy like many others. Grown up in the province, I remember from a young age with my historical friends who then became my witnesses at the wedding, everything else. So a very normal story. As a boy in adolescence, I played football at FC Cinisello like all Italian boys, or most of the Italian boys of that time. So today maybe they spend more time on social media, TikTok, Instagram, maybe they play less soccer. We used to take the bag with the ball inside, kick the ball while we were going to the oratory and take penalties. Then we played 25, the little games, in short. For those who are boys and are more or less of my generation, I am class 1983, so 40 years old at the moment this video is being recorded. That's what we used to do. A normal boy with friends would go to the oratory, get dirty until 7 in the evening, then come back to my house. But as always, he would get angry like a beast, dirtying all the muddy pants, take a shower, and the next day, every single day we would go and play soccer, just like nearly all the other boys who were the same age as me back then. So childhood, whether good or bad, is considered normal until now. There is everything normal, so there is nothing special to report. The student can be above average, but is neither particularly dry nor poor. I have always had a belief in defining a specific ability, which is to learn at school rather than studying at home. That's basically what I try to convey to my kids. Clearly the little one is too small, almost 4 years old, useless to explain to her to be careful where, at the nursery rather than at the kids club down here. No. The great thing is what I try to convey, which maybe you could try to take as inspiration, is to optimize, and that's what I really did, without becoming a parent teacher because I don't think I'm qualified to do it. But what I used to do myself was to be as careful as possible at school instead of fooling around, in quotes, so not doing anything, then having to come home and do study marathons. I took this habit that seemed intelligent to me. Instead of in the afternoon I want to go play with my friends. If I have to stay home studying for 6 hours, I can't go out. So I pay attention at school, I maximize it, the teacher explains, and what I bring as an example, and I also bring it to my children, is but I can't, my daughter tells me. How do you not manage? Sorry, you go to the cinema for an hour and a half, you come out of the cinema, you remember the movie because you were attentive to the movie. I was attentive in class as if it were a matter of vital importance to learn, but not because of learning itself, because I knew that at home I could easily go and play and mind my own business. So it was a habit that I carried with me for all 5 years of high school at Litis Cartesio in Cinzello Bassamo, which I define as a gym of life, and those who have done it, there will be different people, maybe some will watch this video. I've been there, it was a life gym. We were in the first year. I remember 32 students, all boys. We really played. There were some who played cards. Sometimes we played cards too. 10,000 to 20,000 flew away every day, precisely because some boys had debts in class, right? Guys, it's true, debts for 100, 200k lyre. So much so that one day one of these guys, to repay the debt to another, arrives with a Polini muffler. And those around at that time, I don't know if they still exist. Remember the Polini mufflers. This Polini muffler arrives in class to repay a debt of 200k lyre. Instead, we were at the table with classmates we bonded with the most. They helped us advance our knowledge for years. We played the 5,000, the 1,000, the 2,000. At most, we repaid with a sandwich, and today, you won. At that time, the sandwich cost 1,500 lyre, the salami sandwich, so we're talking about this. So a normal adolescence, Careful study in the study phases when we played cards, because we had these Italian teachers who told us to study from page 1 to page 20 and let us study in groups. Clearly there nobody studied, everyone played cards, I'll let you imagine. That being said, in the serious lessons instead, my goal was to just stare and absorb what I then basically tried to apply for my entire future life, which doesn't mean not to strive to optimize, so maximum yield with minimal effort. This was a bit of the imprint that I learned from high school, to the point that only maybe in 4th grade here I started to understand a bit, because clearly adopting this method, never studying at all, but really never, I started to be asked to do something. I recovered some shortcomings and started again great, to the point that the method worked like this at school at the time. I don't know if it still works like this in Italy. Credits were accumulated. I arrived in 5th grade that I already had enough points considered. Then the minimum I could have taken orally, I already had enough points. Between the written tests and the credits accumulated during the 3 years, I already knew that a sufficiency of 16 points of the oral would have already brought me above 60. So I did some calculations that allowed me to arrive calmly and relaxed for the oral exam. I had the credit points so as not to make it too long, and all the participants did well, but I have always been very good in all the written tests. Oral stressed me out. I said I have to go there, present myself, answer 1,000 questions, go through the 5-year program, explain my thesis, and the teachers ask if I want to add something, if I want more questions to raise my grade. I declined. Honestly, I'm fine like this. I already calculated the sum of the written tests, credits, and minimum from the oral exam. Reached 72. Perfectly fine with that. Said thank you very much. Roman hug to everyone. Goodbye. 72. Would I have been busy if I had reached 80? Could I have done more? Certainly yes. In a conservative logic and general logic, I said, but if I go out with 80, I go out with 72. Essentially nothing changes, and this was my initial part of experience. So school, so maximum footprint in attempting to optimize time and not waste time afterward. And this is essentially the thing I brought with me. After graduation, regrettably, the initial turbulence of life commences. What does it signify? I get my diploma, I start looking for ways to enjoy myself. On the first morning when I wake up at 12, my father taps on my shoulder on the bed and tells me, if you think you can sleep until 12 every day, you haven't understood anything. Okay, thanks Dad, I get it. I vacationed because the diploma was finished around July 17, I don't recall the exact date. A month of vacation. Around August 24th, I find a job at Metro Cash and Carry. For those who don't recognize it, they are those wholesale cell service where restaurants and so on get their supplies. I start working, so immediately the end of August, but not during the day obviously, at night, I find work because at the time, then I had already enrolled in university. I find work as a night warehouse worker, night shift from 11 p.m. to 4 a.m., luckily in Cinisello, close to home on the other side of Cinisello, but still within the city, reachable in 10 minutes. Then considering that it's night, I said to go, I said to come back, feasible. Keep in mind that I was a 19-year-old boy, so I was completely lost. The others were going dancing, going out, and I was working. Why night shifts? Day for university, used to go to conservatory, studied political science, tried communication science, but entrance barrier required 386 or 382 points, just 4 points short. 4 endless, very long test questions preventing admission, unable to get in due to those 4 questions I couldn't answer correctly. Choosing political science, taking exams to switch to communication science next year, working at a self-service cash and carry metro at night to support studying. Customers buy stocks of meat for their restaurants, spending 2,000 to 4,000 euros gradually. This is the context in which I settled for political science, aiming to get back in and pursue my passion for communication science. I work in the food section because the meter is cash and carry for food and non-food. I'm in the section where a code is required since everything is in the fridges. This is what I was doing at 19. I have this work experience, including some trouble in the middle. I remind you that I am taking a break to go to the bathroom, and I ask the manager, an elderly lady, for the time she was elderly for me, but still older than me, the manager. 5 minutes I go to the bathroom, I come back, I continue my work, in the evening closing the cash register with 50 euros missing. Is it possible they are missing 50 euros? Most of the customers pay by card, pay by check because they are very high amounts. Few pay in cash, only the Chinese usually were the ones who paid in cash. Not racism, that's how it is. They were the Chinese, they arrived with money, paid in cash. I have an anecdote about a Chinese person at the cash register, maybe another time. And these 50 euros disappear. Letter of recall signed, and I repay these 50 euros out of my own pocket. Is it possible? Haven't they disappeared? I didn't take them, I don't have them. Am I making 50 euros disappear? Why? It turns out this lady regularly stole here and there with this strategy, making these 50 euros vanish every now and then. The lady fired is the image of the undersigned rehabilitated, no. On closer inspection, clearly, I'm having this experience on the subway in the meantime, in quotation marks, a family drama. Today, at a distance of now, we talk about 20 years are common things. At that time, they were already starting to be, but among my friends, no, I was the only one. My parents' separation occurred, so I am a child of separated parents. I don't have stories of parents' separation where the father runs away, doesn't show up, parents are present. To the extent that there was this, let's call it a struggle. It wasn't a struggle. Come live with me, come live with me, come with me, come with me. I was grown up. My brother was young, 8 years old, and I was basically 21. I was clearly free to choose where to go. I chose by my own choice not to have to choose fundamentally at that time, not to disappoint my dad, not to disappoint my mom, because in that case, guys, you are between two fires. You have to choose, I'm with dad or I'm with mom. If I'm with dad, mom gets upset. If I'm with mom, dad gets upset. I go live on my own. I mess up with my own hands, basically. If I had been more selfish, I would have stayed basically a bit like all the guys. I'm with mom, dad pays child support because he has to, because unfortunately it works like that. Unfortunately, luckily, it works like that. He has to help contribute to support the child, and instead I chose specifically not to weigh on my parents' shoulders, or at least as little as possible. I chose to live on my own. Where? In a house that, luckily, I don't want to be a hero, fell from the sky, etc., etc. Luckily, my father's house, the conjugal roof, after the separation practically emptied, the house of Cinzello Balsamo, where we always lived all together, all four of us, and suddenly it empties, stays empty because my mom leaves, decides to leave. She goes to live alone. My father potentially rebuilds his life, goes to live with his partner, and this house remains empty. The house remains empty. I basically live there. But my job was odd jobs, guys. The metro paid me 500, 600. Don't remember, 700 euros a month for a part-time job. Not bad for the time. Talking about 20 years ago, part-time from 11 p.m. to 4 a.m., 5 hours day. All the night shifts turned into a daytime cashier because I couldn't take it anymore. Dropped out of university, non-attending student because I couldn't take it anymore. So I decided to go live alone. Don't pay rent for the family-owned house, but start paying for all my things, right? Phone, car, breakfast. Anyway, some things I start to pay badly. I can clearly go this on for about a year, where in the meantime, after I left the subway, I tried to go back to university, changing communication sciences. Then after I decided to go and do social sciences, basically always humanities area, changed several jobs after the subway because tired. This has always been my characteristic, the fact of never staying too long in the same workplace. So after the subway job or after the subway, I started doing mystery shopping for Siemens, but not for Siemens, but for the company connected to Siemens. Clearly these jobs, these big companies go for them, right? To delegate to temporary employment agencies, right? I work for Nike, I work for, if I remember correctly, this company called CPM that worked for Nike. So I did training in Bologna at Nike. I was a visual merchandiser, so I did displays. And I did this job for over 2 years. It was well paid for the time and for the type of contract we had. It was a project-based contract. I was really well paid. They gave me 10 euros net per hour. I worked a few days occasionally in the month. 6-7 hours I went to Turin. 6-7 hours I went to Milan, to Binasco, which were not Nike stores. It is a clothing store like Athlete's World, etc. chain where Nike has its corner inside, and once a month or two, depending on the importance of the stores, they went to do the setups, so they learned how to fold the shirts. They folded the shirts in such a way that among the 4 shirts stacked one on top of the other, they gave then the logo. So from the first shirt had the logo folded more towards the top, then the other towards the middle, etc. The 4 or 5 shirts stacked one per size must then be the whole vision of the logo. These types of jobs are done. The hats above and the hats below. The shoes are put in a certain way. The shirts are hung like this, not like this. Then the saleswomen, you disappeared for a month. I thought that this way is more beautiful. You took everything apart. Essentially, they removed all the garments, placed them on the hanger, and disassembled all the fixtures from the equipped wall, and subsequently repositioned all the shelves. I remember it like it was yesterday. Having done this job for a long time, which I basically liked, then afterwards crisis, inner crisis, I decide to suddenly quit. Okay, I'm becoming inconsistent with this job, not typical of me, but inner crisis, turmoil, separation, etc., etc. I decide to stop, and it's like June. I have some money saved, money that comes from, not even so much from work, it comes from the gifts I received for communions, baptisms, confirmations. And there I have to say, I demanded them, you have to give me this money. Actually, it was a big mistake. My parents couldn't tell me no. If they had insisted, then over time I would have thanked the fact that they hadn't given it to me, so much so that that summer I decided to go to New York, to Barcelona. I spent a month and a half on a lavish vacation. I don't say everything, but a large part of what I had saved. Why? Because I needed to relax. Maybe what it is afterwards, served or not served, is not known. I'm going to New York, I'm going to Barcelona. We're spending several days in Barcelona with some friends. I'm going to New York for the first time. It's the big dream, etc., etc., etc. I start looking for odd jobs like mystery shopper, persims, then I assemble scaffolding in the rain, do masonry work with my father, can't find other jobs, so I do various odd jobs, even ones call center guys have done, worked in Porta Romana and this one for a while. Keep going, searching for more odd jobs. I worked in a call center with multiple workstations in the Porta Romana attic. There were Macs, designed like televisions that I remember. Do you recall those unique Macs? With the green plastic similar to a mess like that. There were multiple stations, or you telephoned home to conduct surveys. I recall they had the Citrosodina surveys, or I selected because I did not want to inconvenience people at home. I was hired to work in a call center that provided assistance to people. I would answer calls, and at that time there were the 7 cards. Maybe not everyone will remember them. They were rechargeable cards that allowed access to channels through decoders that required a special card. There was also the Testa Premium, which was a competitor for watching football matches. So the 7 had the rights to broadcast some minor teams matches, mainly the Napoli, and some teams exclusively from the countryside, because there was always someone calling from Altavilla Irpina saying that they couldn't get the 7 card because there was no coverage in their area. Do you remember that time? I worked in a call center answering calls from people who couldn't get through to the service. These are all the jobs until, among the various university changes, etc., etc., the university drags me forward. Clearly, I start working in the railway on September 4th, 2006, 4 years after my diploma. How to reach train station. I enter railway under bombardment from my mother, who is already a railway worker, isn't she? She worked as railway worker in Milano Martesana in maintenance, so she was technician fixing meshes under trains. A woman at the time, even there, a revolution, right? A woman who works under the trains, etc., insists, go ask questions to the railway that hires, they don't want to go, etc. I desired discontinuity compared to the family, correct? She did not want to go there, so the first time she writes to me and I do not pretend nothing. Second interview, you write to me and tell me that tomorrow morning there is the interview. Yes, don't worry, I set the alarm, then I see the alarm and I don't even get up. Who cares? I'm not going to that interview. He tells me thrice, I wrote and called you thrice. Tomorrow AM, I'll pick you up at home and take you to the interview, unless you do the interview. Since she is coming to pick me up, I can't avoid it this time. I get on my beautiful scooter that I used everywhere, my SR replica with number 1 of Marco Melandri, if I'm not mistaken. It was the one at the time, thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of kilometers. As usual, I put newspaper sheets under my coat because it was cold, right? There was a refreshing breeze in the morning to hang all my gloves, fully equipped with helmet and goggles. I am going to do these interviews in Martesana, Milano. Yes, it will be my first interview, an oral interview with normal expectations. It will be my first face-to-face interview with 2 or 3 people in front of me asking questions. I will say the usual things like how I wanted to work with trains as a child. Then, there will be a group interview where I will be presented with a case to solve. The case involves a customer who needs to leave tomorrow for vacation, but his car has broken down. He comes to the body shop where I am the owner and we are about to close. I will have to decide how to behave and what actions to take. Do you send him away? Do you manage it? What do you tell him? How do you handle the customer? We approach this case quite casually and everything, and for each interview there was practically a cut, okay? Essentially, I reached the 3rd step, so individual interview, face-to-face, preliminary, group interview, written test, and then technical interview. These 4 interviews. Written interview is coming. I look around, I see people with things written on their arm, desperate human cases. Applicants at personal interviews are promptly sent away. Why are you in the railway? His response, good salary. Yes, leave, clearly go. You can wait for who knows what. Once the written interview comes, the competitive spring snaps in me. Fuck, but is it possible that I am here? These are beasts, that is, they are much superior to these. I can't come out of this interview defeated now, so at that point I commit. Clearly I arrive at the tech interview with the knowledge of my studies in electronics and telecoms from 4 to 5 years ago, a little more faded, but fundamentally they know they have to teach you many things, so they don't expect the great tech to arrive. So I pass these blessed interviews. I enter the railway, and maybe this sentence that you have already heard other times or read somewhere else, which are real sentences that I say to my neighbor at the moment we sit at this rectangular table that gives us contracts to sign, and I look around, I see a bit of the environment, and I say to Andrea, my former colleague from Mantua, I tell Andrea if I'm still here at 40, also because I was used to changing often. It was inconceivable for me to stay now for life in one place. Having changed 10 jobs in the previous 4 years, starting from Pumile, climbing, going to earn first by doing nights, then at the cash register, then with hams in hand, then later even as a bricklayer, assembling scaffolding, etc., etc. Mystery shopper, call center, always climbing, always improving more and more, and I remain like this. Is it possible that I have been here until my death? And I tell Andrea if I'm still here at 40, shoot me at 40. I'm in Dubai, so evidently something went well. Maybe my determination, the desire to try, but we'll see in history. As I enter the railway, we start taking courses. We have to take the railway regulations course, which basically was one of the things I hated the most when I was in high school. It was law. I find myself studying the railway regulations, which is nothing more than law. Railway law, Article 1, Article 2, hundreds of articles, hundreds of paragraphs, Article 36, Paragraph A, bis, etc., etc., etc. I'm practically in a nightmare. I study all these railway regs. It's a lot of stuff, guys, really a lot. I'd like to support the train drivers, my colleagues in the railway industry, who are occasionally criticized for being late and so on. They are individuals who dedicate their lives to studying railway regulations, which are not children's books but rather volumes of this height, and there are various rules that must be memorized. A general preface to the timetable is called PGOS, which had a brown Bordeaux cardboard cover that you could always have with you. However, clearly, if there is a specific situation on the train, there is no time to flip through it. Basically, you have to know it by heart. You could bring it as a support, but you do not have time to browse through the 300 pages of a PGOS in the moment, so there is a lot to prepare. We study for months. We take the first exam, not an internal exam, within the railway company, which at the time was Trinitalia, but with the external company, essentially external, which owns the RFI infrastructure. So it works like this. You study through Trinitalia, there is your instructor, they teach you, you study the railway regulations, and then RFI with an engineer who is responsible for Fondazione FS, Historical Italians. Great person, extremely knowledgeable, whom we clearly hated, but it wasn't a human hatred. We hated because there is someone who does the exams. It's very heavy. During the exam, they asked about the semaphore wings, that is circulation systems. There is only one in Italy, and he asks about it. Therefore, since the license is national, you need to know the maforce alisi, those wings that move, right? Are these old railway reports, right? Of 50 years. Let's take this exam. We have a series of apprenticeship days to do before we reappear after a year. So we have 150, 180 days as second assistant drivers alongside other older drivers. Here I start to have my experiences against Mimo, great memories, the Soci of Montalbano, great Mimo, I love you. If you watch this video, I remember you with a lot of affection. Then with Alessandro, another partner of the shift, who then became like girlfriends basically, because we were together every day. All shifts were always together, 6 days out of 7 basically. Let's prioritize training these days, starting with one person and then with the other. They were changing you because a strong relationship and bond had formed, making it difficult to manage pairs of train drivers who had been spoiled. Shift change for train drivers was tough. They called, asked, what are you up to? No. Yes, it was really like that. So they broke up the couples to make it a little more manageable. Then I take a course for cars, it's called that. So a course on means of transportation. So let's learn how to enter high voltage cabins, intervene on resistance packs in case it has never happened, but you must be able to know how to do it. So are we referring to the old E646 and E656 locomotives, the ones that are traditional and really old-fashioned? Cars are called rear stack, working with the exception of the rheostat. Now I'm a technician for those who don't understand. Basically there is current flowing and you with a knob, all manual with X notches, makes tick 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 tick, exclude the resistors so more current flows and the car arrives. This was the railway I entered. Well, so traditional railway, then old locomotives arrived first, modern locomotives that you see around today. Let's do the car course. Let's take a second exam on locomotives, which is basically like pilot licenses for airplanes fundamentally. They study flight techniques and then they must have the qualifications, who is the Airbus, etc. The same for train drivers. Apprenticeship, 36 or 46 months, don't remember, about 4 years, okay? In which in the middle, the first exam was taken, second exam on machines, other days of accompaniment made to reach final oral, written and practical exam. This is the path. Quite lengthy study period, 4 years demanding, very demanding, heavy shifts. Today they still have them on their account, people don't believe it. We as available drivers during personnel shortage, deadly in Milan, Porta Garibaldi, where I worked for the first 4 to 5 years. Often we available agents because we did not have an assigned shift. We had the shift the night before for the next day, which does not mean that at 8 p.m., you know that tomorrow at 4 p.m. you will go to work. It happened that at 8 p.m., at 9 p.m., at 10 p.m., I knew that at 4 in the morning, right after, I had to go to the central station to catch the first train to Parma, for example. It also required a lengthy preparation because there is only the locomotive. You have to go out, pick up the carriages and bring them back to the roof in the central station. Prep of the train, cold train, you must heat it up first because customers prefer the train to be hot, etc., etc. So I basically miss out on all the nice things a 23-year-old guy can do with the central station, 23-27. Diversity parties of all my friends cancelled. My friends who go to Elba Island all together in beautiful company, I miss them all every holiday, all the Venice, almost all the holidays. I remember a New Year's Eve in the province of Bergamo in this villa where I finish work, and they were there celebrating New Year's Eve at dinner. I arrive after midnight, basically, guys. I remember evenings where, coming back from Domodossola by train, I arrive at Milano Porta Garibaldi station at 23:57. I get on, and it is this evening that I join my friends. I get on with some colleagues. We have a glass of Jack Daniel to celebrate those who stayed there. Entangled in shifts of the 31st evening, a small glass, I wait for half an hour and a half, they shoot fireworks around the street, I take the car, I arrive at Luna, from Luna until late at night, I try to have fun, so this was my life in quotation marks. During that period, I ask for a transfer, I go to Lecco, where I finally find an environment where I can say that, in terms of railways, I leave my heart as a colleague environment, I get along very well with everyone, it's great, much better shifts compared to not very beautiful ones. But better than what I used to before, and this is basically what always happens in life. So you arrive in a better environment, get used to it, and then even what is beautiful, once amazing, starts to feel tight. Basically, it always ends up like this. It happens that I'm fine, right? So I go through the early years I live. In the meantime, I bought a house in Lison. With the mortgage, I do what a lot of Italians do, the average Italian. First salary, good enough salary in the railway. Sweaty but good. I buy my own house in Lison also to get out of that family situation that I had mentioned, where to try not to weigh. At a certain point I entered the railway and started paying all the expenses clearly. That is, I pay expenses here and it's worth it. I buy a house and leave there. Closed chapter. I live at my father's house in the meantime and the railway, while apart from some money, I buy a house on my own. And it happens that during those years of life at the ECO, I meet my current wife, so this chapter of life begins where I work at the ECO. I live in Lissone closer to Milan than at the ECO, so I commute on the ECO and I commute on the Desenzano del Garda where my current wife lived, and I go back and forth. This is a significant economic expense taken from the situation, but the management starts to find myself completely dry, literally completely dry. For those who've seen part of my story, they'll have heard this story of the 84 euros, which is real. If I had screenshots to show you, I'd gladly show them. It's true. One day we go to dinner in this, let's say, mini self-service, like the various Hello, etc., right? In a restaurant in Desenzano, we order a first course each, a dessert, etc., etc. It's time to pay the bill. ATM, the ATM era, right? So today's debit card doesn't go through. Droplet of sweat. Let's get out of this embarrassment. I use a credit card. Credit card always works. I purchased the new 500, which was brand new then. I'm a young boy who wants a car with a 1.4 turbo petrol engine and 135 horsepower. The girl was drinking, but I still have a doubt. I open the home banking. I'm going to see the dinner like a potluck. 100 euros. Check account. See 84 euros. Think, what am I doing? Expenses between me and me. But what do I do now? We are at the beginning of the month, June, July. Now what do I do? 20 days left until June's salary. Railway paid 27. How do I live for 20 days? I lock myself in a box. I had to go to the ECO, i.e. daily by car, as you can't commute by train if you're a railway worker who takes the first train. I mean, is this logical, right? The rail worker goes to work by car to enable others to go to work by train. In the vast majority of cases, I have to refuel in order to get home. I only plan to use the credit card and save as much as possible throughout the month, trying to reach 27. From there, I strive to get back on my feet a bit. Luckily, I had the 14th on the railway, so in July, I received double salary and start to get back on my feet, gradually recovering financially. With the passing of time, clearly the relationship has strengthened. I decide to move to Desenzano at the same time as the transfer. Initially, I was supposed to be in Verona. Instead, let's call it a form of blackmail. If you behave well, then we will send you to Verona. Okay, they're sending me to Brescia. Brescia has deadly shifts, worse than Verona, worse than Lecco where I was before. And there, I finally began to mature the idea of whether I should do something else. So I start approaching trading fundamentally. Trading approach is the first thing I see, right? No need to do anything. Graphic analysis and skills are involved, but it's quite straightforward, isn't it? Log into platform, enter 100 euros, imagine entering 100 and making 100. If could go back, would tell Yuri to be cautious, invest 100, earn 100%. Earning 100% of an invested amount is not trivial. If you plan to buy an apartment and expect a 4% annual return in Italy, you realize that investing 100 and earning 100 may seem achievable due to the relatively small amount invested and the potential return on investment. But 100% profit is not really automatic, so I start my experiences. For those who already know a little bit about my story, I make several mistakes, then over time I learn to do some trading, but fundamentally I come to the conclusion that if I have to dedicate X hours of my time without even knowing if I will be able to make a profit every day, it goes without saying that maybe it's better for me to do something else. Among the experiences, then I started with CFDs, contracts for difference, plus 500 to be clear. Then I buy Italian stocks because afterwards I feel a little cooler. Now let's go to the stock market. Enough of these childish things. The Italian market is cornered because it's not that big, a bit scarce. However, that's what you know because you're in Italy. I begin going to the US market. Now I feel more confident, I feel cooler, and I pursue pharmaceuticals. I commence investing like crazy, speculating like crazy on these pharmaceutical companies that fundamentally rely on a single drug at times, experimentation being a crucial aspect. He opens company, I remember it today as if it were yesterday, company Ritter, had drug against tolerance and something, celiac disease, etc. Then his company that lived on investments because it was developing drug. Each time there was negative news that the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4 studies and so on were not progressing well. The stock experienced a decline of 80-90% in a single instance. If, on the other hand, the study phase of the drug in question went well, these were titles that made 100% in one go. So basically there was also the desire, the intention to make the bot fast. Here, that's what used to bother me at the time. He still had the mentality of putting 1,000 on Ritter, then it becomes 100% because on February 20th there are data on phase 2. If it goes well, you make 1,000. If it goes badly, you have lost 900. So you stay with a little bit of skepticism. The fact is that it went on like this for a while, so I studied technical analysis. I still know how to do it a bit enough, so I indulge every now and then. Now with a new perspective, I can take action. Why? Why not reason with the fact that daily I must find the operation to trade? Today, I invest maybe 2 or 3 times a year. I make 2 or 3 profits that are good for my investment part. However, at that time, I wanted to make a daily hit, guys. The typical daily trader, as you understand it, does not earn. These are statistics provided by the brokers themselves. They were forced to publish statistics. 86% of traders do not earn, they lose money. The remaining 14% are probably the ones who break even. Those who really make money are few, guys. I had to comprehend solely through my own experience, and in the interim other dramas come about that my wife will never give me permission to disclose, genuine family dramas that weigh us down significantly, and in the midst of all this we begin to undergo a phase that I characterize as the nadir, from which I could either sever my veins or essentially resurface once more. I decide one day which is my fault, so you will watch this video and say how stupid you were. Yes, I was stupid, I admit it, and it wasn't even a matter of saving because we were talking about 60 euros a day. We find ourselves in the restroom for train drivers at Milano Centrale, talking to colleagues who are even older. You talk to older colleagues on foot. You hang on to their every word for experiences and everything. At least that was my way of doing things. And they talk about insurance renewal, but nowadays cars are stolen more often, and I was there next to it on June once renewing the car insurance, which at the time I had changed because this blessed Alfa Mito consumed too much and I had bought a Lancia 1300 Multi-Jet. I must say that it wasn't a matter of money. This renewal, which also included theft, cost 60 euros. Let's talk. They no longer steal from me, I calculate. Basically, I work, live in Desenzano, park car by the window. In Desenzano, I have forgotten the car open a billion times. Nobody has ever touched it. It's a pretty quiet place. It's not Dubai, clearly, but it's quiet. It's not even Cinisello. I decide, I go to work. I know I work in Verona. Here I'm transferred to Verona. I know there's a bar in Verona. I go from home to Verona to open the bar. I return home. Life is that, concretely. It's half there was transferred to Verona. I opt not to do again without entering the theft. My most wrong decision, my fault, another premise. I had taken this car clearly wrong. I had this financing of 130 euros per month to pay for this car for 4 years just taken, and we go on vacation to Gallipoli. So nothing against Puglia, Gallipoli, Puglia origins. So it's not the place for me. Basically the vacation in Puglia, we had already been there. So the previous year we had been with the Mito. found it great without problems, and we go to Prosciutto on vacation. We park the car in front of the entrance to the beach, not in the woods, who knows where. I mean, there's the entrance to the beach, everyone enters, one car, two cars, third car is ours. We take a trip to the sea, at the time only with the eldest daughter, who was not big but little. She was 6, 7, 8 years old, and we go out. In the evening at 7 on the beach, as usual, we stayed until the very end, waiting for the sun to set, feeling more relaxed, etc. We go out and the car is gone, no cars left, parked because the beach has emptied and we no longer have ours. Mary, my wife, tells me, but no, you'll see it will be. At that time she was not yet my wife. You'll see she will be there, and she starts searching. Look, I put it there. Don't you believe that we go around looking, right? Does the car move by itself? The fact is that the car was stolen. We enter the bar next door looking for a kind of support that clearly we don't receive from these gentlemen who own the budget. Welcome. I pick up the phone. My phone has 10% battery. Damn it. House key, all inside the car. They stole everything from me. We also had this Lavazza coffee machine, the one that made coffee in the car. Beautiful. We loved it. It was a birthday gift. My wife's phone, 30%, it's fine. I try to recover. Luckily that in Gallipoli we met some former colleagues from Lecco of the railway. I am going to contact him on my phone. I say, look, Nicola, look, my phone is dying. Write on my girlfriend's Facebook contact because my phone is about to die soon. I had a problem. Right there. They took my car. We're walking. Obviously, we're not in NY, Paris, or Dubai. There's nothing. There was nothing there. There was no bus. There were no taxis. There was nothing. If you can come and pick us up, please, could you take us back to Gallipoli? You would do me this big favor because my boyfriend was crying. The little girl was crying. We had nothing on. The t-shirts were in the car. We were covered with towels and slippers. And he says, look, I'm in Otranto with other friends from Otranto on the other side in Puglia, time to arrive. So an hour and a half, we wait there. He comes to pick us up from Otranto and takes us back from Punta Prosciutto to Gallipoli. So I make him imagine the moral of the vacation. Second day of vacation, car disappeared. I go to report to the Carabinieri that the Carabinieri tell me, well, it's normal that they stole it from you. It's a 1300 multi-jet, thanks. Very normal. Thanks a bunch. Start with day one of bike rentals. We stay put. Not exactly in Gallipoli center, so let's move in the evening, or else what's the plan? We were wandering at home, then I rent a car for the remaining week of vacation, so we managed to get by well. Meanwhile, on the beaches, I'd quickly go to Punto Ita and search for cars, since I knew that after the vacation, besides how we'd get back home, which I'll explain soon, I'd need transportation for work. How could I manage without it? I arrive in Desenzano, then I have to go to work in Verona. I need a car. This 2000 Punto Bianca arrives providentially, if I remember correctly. Punto Bianca, the rounded one, the first model, the classic Punto. My uncle says, look, we have it stopped in the garage. The battery is dead. We never use it. It's been there. It was a car we used for services. The tires are still good because we recently changed them. The only thing is there's no power steering, no air conditioning. There's a mini radio there. Maybe it can be helpful. Thank you so much. It basically saves my life because there was no money to buy a car. I remember I took out a loan to pay for a car that I no longer have, and I won't be able to receive anything for this car. Money completely lost. Around 13,000 to 14,000 euros at the time. It was a machine in quotes that I had taken. It was not new. It was used 15,000 kilometers. It was owned by an old lady who had done very few kilometers, so she managed to save something. But the fact is that I lose everything and I find myself having to pay the financing of this car for the next 5 years. They lend me this white point and I say, well, let's go on with this 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. That at a certain point with my girlfriend at the time, my wife, and today we have to go to Milan because I had a program, a small hospital intervention in Cinzello, so we leave to Essenzano. We decide to leave the child with the grandparents in Desenzano. Fortuna wants us to reach Montello Height on the A4 motorway. In a slowing phase, a truck comes from behind at full speed. It comes at full speed from behind and I, as soon as I see the rearview mirror, immediately steer slightly to the right. I put my right arm out to instinctively try to break the impact that Mary next to me takes full on. A crazy crash. Clearly she hits her side a bit. She gets hurt a bit here. She has some marks. We end up in the hospital. The car instantly shuts off. It jumps forward against the impact. We end up, because we were in the right lane, since I had already steered instead of hitting the one in front, we immediately end up in the emergency lane. Let's call the police. The car won't start again. Completely dead from the crash. If I find the photos, I will show you the photos. They come to pick us up, the police come, the tools come, the car is taken. This car ends up in a tool shed in the Montello area. Every day they burden us with expenses, no money, otherwise I'd have bought a new car. It's a dramatic situation and this is the lowest point of absurdity. So they steal my car, they lend me the car, they come at us, they destroy the car. Fortunately the girl wasn't there, otherwise I don't know where she would be by now. We end up in the hospital, absolute drama. Now what do I do? Now I have to buy the car by force. I have nothing. Maybe I have 2 to 3,000 euros in my account, a little minimum. Yes, to survive. I still go straight to the point and find this. In the end, I find this car in the area, if I'm not mistaken, of Oriel Sirio. Another point, in order to stay on topic, this metallic blue point, all chipped, that will go down in history, just like the chipped blue note, which also, if I have some pictures I will show you, is worth 1,500 euros. Transferring ownership to Bergamo, bring brother-in-law, tell him give hand, these swindlers, don't know who these people are. This gypsy essentially sells me this blue dot. I can't do anything else, guys. It's the absolute lowest point. I can't do anything else. We are about 2016. I take this blue point, I put it in gear, I arrive home and start to hear this strange noise. Belt, 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 belt. You will have problems fundamentally. Thank God I can walk even for a while with this car. I will never stay on foot, so I give you this spoiler on the story. I will never stay on foot, but I continue to receive fines repeatedly in the following weeks. I receive at least 4 possible ZTL. I go to see the dates, and every time I take the passage and property of ACI in Bergamo, where we made this passage. I emailed the dates, Ozio below, Ozio above, all these municipalities in the Bergamo area that send me the fines at home for ZTL passages of 70 euros each to the police commands. I say, no gentlemen, this car was mine, it was Tizio's because I did the change of ownership afterwards, so I get rid of these fines every time, and they say, well, they take them and send them to you at home. I also see the owner of the car today. The fine was 2 months ago, 3 months ago, 6 months ago, whatever. I receive fines repeatedly, but I continue. I recall this scraped area on the bonnet in the front though. Guys, I repeat, not much could be done at the time. This could be done, this was done, it was already a miracle. But I continue to do trading. In the meantime, there was also a loss of 6,000-7,000 euros. I don't just explode, in other words, in light of what I told you. So speculating on these American pharmaceutical stocks, I lose 6,000 to 7,000 euros, right, during the Christmas period. So depressed to the maximum. It costs a blue dot, peeling off without a penny. I decide once again to start over. I start collaborating with a character. I say character to not say anything else. Also quite well known in the world of trading. So I start collaborating. So I analyze stocks. I make videos. I do live streams. I start entering the world of online, the real one. He asks me to manage the community, etc. Yes, okay. These people who joined the Facebook group with a 47 euro membership, if I remember correctly, either me or another guy, are asked to manage the community. Let's get to the point. I'm working for you, right? We start fantasizing about our little one. Damn, but the membership costs 47, 1,000 enter, they make 47,000. So since we do the lives in the community and manage the community, maybe half of it is ours and you and I split the remainder. Damn, finally we made it, right? The big dream of earning online is done, right? Never again was wrong about this. This little contract arrives and basically the relationships are interrupted that says we give you 200 euros. It still makes me laugh today to think about it, as much as I still pay my collaborators to do much infinitely less than what we did there. Video transcriptions by hand. There was no artificial intelligence, guys. By hand. I used this program to slow down the audio, spacebar. I stopped and wrote, you know how many videos I transcribed for free for these people. When it's time for thanks, we make you this little contract, 200 euros a month, with a penalty of 50,000 euros. If we had detached ourselves in the following 3 years by doing our own project in the field, that was the last straw. We have separated this boy. Together we have created our first trading course, Trading Signals course. Initially, it was somewhat embryonic and makeshift, but we possessed the necessary knowledge and were gradually gaining a deeper understanding of the processes involved. After experiencing significant financial losses in trading, we decided to share our knowledge. Let's have a discrete experience. Let's cash in. Let's spend it practically in balance. With this boy, we always found ourselves very well, a very serious boy. But there was a problem of speed. We had 2 completely different situations where I had an immense desire to change job, change life. And here I tell you guys, honesty never spits on the plate where you eat, where you have eaten even more. We have to stay in the online world, which is a bit particular, but even more so in traditional jobs where I have done shifts, and it's important to adapt and find a balance between the two. I gave my blood for the company, and then the thanks I received were to give me money and a notice after 15 years of shifts. Thank you anyway, thank you. I lost everything. A little parenthesis, never bite the hand that feeds you. Also because the railway was fundamental to start doing business online. Otherwise, without the budget of the railway salaries, I would never have been able to, or maybe I could have by making more sacrifices, but that's what I needed to start the activity. So basically this course ends because we can't find the direction. We are in Servi, we are not ready yet, I am not ready yet. I attempt live streams. If I rewatch them today, the saved videos on my PC are funny. See, what on earth, what was my intention back then with those videos? Embarrassing even with the exhibition. Let's close because we are going at different speeds. He, at the time, much wealthier than me, probably. Me with this hunger, no, like Rocky Balboa, no, of wanting to emerge, no, from the ghetto, but well, you understand. The path that most of you are familiar with. I began self-publishing, but I started self-publishing in this way because of the Italian trainer X who had taken the self-publishing course in order to prevent any misunderstandings. I start doing SM Pubship because this character named Big Luca comes out. I think it's necessary to mention him, who basically starts making these videos from Dubai. I admit to being one of those who, when he went out on the street, I would go on Google Maps with City View to see, is this really Dubai? I start to check if he's really in Dubai. Do you speak or talk to me? He's in Dubai. Well, I start to follow, but I'm not ready for all that marketing talk, courses, etc. I make a reasoning as elementary as simple. How did he arrive here? What did he do with the first steps he took? He was selling booklets. Why in his communication there was always selling or sold booklets? I took the course then on booklets. After high school, I took a marketing course. Well, that is precisely what I told myself, correct? I got off my pedestal. Do you always think you know everything? Basically. And the first fundamental step of progress, apart from filling my head with all this content. Attention, fill my mind with information regarding the possibility of doing more, emphasizing that we are not necessarily confined to being employees, trapped in low-paying jobs, or living a terrible, modest life, etc. Confirmed, this guy is not talking nonsense because he is truly in Dubai. He's in Dubai, guys, and prior to selling the course, his first course, he was in Dubai as he had also made the booklets. So what can I do if he actually did it? I am basically less intelligent than him. Perhaps I am not prepared to do what he is currently doing. Let me take the first steps as he did. So I start looking for information on self-publishing. So basically I start from his English language course. That was at the time, and an Italian language course by another trainer, which I highly recommend, so I will not mention his name for his sake, as it was a very painful course, and that's when I started doing self-publishing. I moved the first experiences, then afterwards another Italian trainer arrives who basically is a student of Big Luca, takes the course of Big Luca, clearly understands that there are opportunities in Italian language. If I speak in the course of Big Luca, it expands a little, brings in Italian language, and I basically start with some knowledge, first knowledge acquired, English language, but I admit that at the time, 5 years ago, I knew much less English compared to now that I live abroad. Now I'm going to the cinema, I watch movies in English, I watch TV in English, I speak with people in English, I make calls to America for Amex in English comfortably. At that time I couldn't answer if someone spoke English on the other side. He isn't saying that, he is Arab. Arabic and English were similar. I try to arrange my courses in English a bit, but I want to be more confident. I switched to the Italian course. So I start then to develop the first skills of SIPA publishing thanks also to these courses, and then basically, guys, the rest is history. I was the initial Italian to achieve a net income of 20K, which is equivalent to $20,000 at the very least, per month with self-publishing, the first Italian. I want to clarify that not even the trainers from whom I learned part of the knowledge, also because the self-publishing learned in 2018 is not the self-publishing of today. It is not the self-publishing that I have continued to do over time, also because I myself have been part, as one of the very first in Italy, the first Italian boy to make these figures. Not even the trainers who translated the courses into English and Italian, who brought the courses to Italian, made 20K per month. I myself have been a part, proudly, along with others who have participated, but I have been a part of the evolution of self-publishing in Italy and in general. They were incapable of publishing audiobooks. It was the individual who identified the limited company solution to address the fact that Italians could not publish on Audible, therefore on ACX. I was the individual who discovered the solution when it was not possible to post reviews on the Amazon platform utilizing virtual assistants, VAs. I developed the method for recruiting authentic writers in the United States who would be willing to leave reviews. I was the inventor, founder, writing company, the first company. It was unthinkable before. The same Big Luca in consulting admitted to me behind closed doors when I was told that you wanted to do the writing company for SAP Publisher. I thought it would never work. You contradicted me with congratulations. So I have been the creator, founder of a writing company called Titanium Writers that has written 7,000 books from February 2020 to date. When you watch this video, I will likely have made more because they are coming out and have come out, and there will always be further news about SAP Publisher from me as I continue creating videos. So I have been you yourself of the revolution, if not one of the primary individuals actively involved in the evolution of self-publishing itself. Since I proudly entered, so much so that there are also other trainers, the most honest ones admit the fact that they have also gone through consultations with me and have learned the basics of self-publishing and then have developed their own paths. Who is on all content, who is on other derivations, who has taken cues from self-publishing and then created his own small sales ecosystem, not on Amazon, maybe on other platforms, but knowledge comes from there. How I went from zero to the amazing life in Dubai with extreme suffering. I informed you about it. I shared my story with you. With pride, I can tell you that ever since I started my journey in self-publishing, many people may choose not to pursue it due to their pride, their strong attachment to their team, their loyalty to the organization. However, I have persevered. Perhaps they are no longer aware of it. Why he was not informed, but I have been a significant innovator over the years in terms of publishing, starting from the creation of reviews. As I mentioned, reviews cannot be conducted without social proof. It is not possible to make sales. From today, I am the one who is introducing an innovative and unique method of selling books by including bonuses without resorting to the conventional approaches that everyone else follows. The limited edition audiobooks of Ingress Park hold the world record for royalties on Ingress Park. I have paved a path that has enabled people to make a substantial amount of money, although I wouldn't say it has made them rich. Then later, more people arrived who wanted to introduce even more filth. They placed the books that were translated using DeepL, so they published books that were translated into all languages using DeepL. And then Ingress Park started saying, guys, pay attention, calm down, what is this garbage in Spanish and French and German? This is the drop that made the vase overflow, but I was the one who made hundreds of thousands of dollars on Ingress Park as an Italian advertiser. I personally earned around $390,000 on Ingress Park by publishing a plethora of books and experienced significant success. Many books, I had a team that created books, so I've been an innovator, and this is my story at present. This is the story of how I really went from being broke, working shifts, working as a bricklayer with my father, to the one who assembled scaffolding for Siemens, mystery shopper for Siemens, visual merchandiser for Nike, call center in the attic of Porta Romana, to arrive by train, invest money in trading, lose it all, be left with 84 euros, start over, be completely without a car, car destroyed in an accident, buy the next one broken, dilapidated, go around like a gypsy basically, completely overturned. My life. All of you who are thinking, but how can I do it, but do I work? I'll just tell you that when I started self-publishing, I was still clearly dependent on the railways, and I started self-publishing at night. I used to arrive home at midnight and do my books from midnight until 2, 3, or 4 in the morning. I used to wake up at 10 and start doing self-publishing on my computer with dim light at night above my head in the kitchen in Desenzano. Then I would resume by getting dressed in the already prepared uniform on the chair, ready to put it on and go back to work. Coming back and during work, guys, it never ended. I no longer went out to dinner with colleagues. I stayed in the break room, opened the computer and formatted my books, looked for keyboards, fixed and made changes. I was making changes to the covers. I was doing what is called an ecoletto. I had a daughter and a pregnant wife waiting for the second one. Boys to repay in 7 years. Boys, 7 years. So it's not impossible. It's doable for those who say they don't have money, boys. I'm not telling you to take out loans. Don't take out loans because I was crazy. I risked it. I put myself in a total discomfort situation. 5,000 euros thought by me, 10,000 euros borrowed with Fineco. I would like to show them to you. I don't know if I still have access. I changed my phone. I'll show it to you if I can. I'll have it superimposed on the account. I'll end up with the loan. But guys, I spoke like that. All those loan money went to the company's registration at the time, which was not mine, to produce books. Started at the end of 2018. In May-June 2019, I was the first Italian to make $20,000 in a single month net because there were no Amazon raises. So it was all net. Said that, guys, I hope you were not bored. I hope that the video of my story would be shorter, but the narrative is long deserving to be recounted, although I did exclude certain intense family dramas that occurred during the time when they were stealing the car, which resulted in multiple accidents and even more challenging situations. However, my wife decided to cancel, as she is not in the mood for it, and I want to respect her decision. Nevertheless, it is important to acknowledge that those were truly difficult moments. So, if I managed to overcome them, anyone can. Until we meet again, guys, and until we explore the wolf's paths, goodbye and see you in the future.